Hello, everyone. Welcome to Developing Palates. I'm Aaron Loomis, coming to you from the Ventura Cigar Company studio. And with me today is Jiunn Liu and John McTavish. How you guys doing tonight?
All right.
Doing okay.
So today we are talking about the Joya de Nicaragua Cinco Decadas El General. It's a Churchill 7x50. Comes out of the Joya de Nicaragua factory in Nicaragua. Wrapper, binder, and filler are all undisclosed. Price point is $18.99. And the cigar was released in August of 2018. So with all that out of the way, June, what was your smoking experience like?
Um, this is a medium to medium plus body strength formula. So I got it's mainly like a earth driven cigar for me. So like I got flavors like uh, dirt soil, some red pepper spice coming through, sweet potatoes, bread, cedar. That it's interesting. It almost like played a trick on my palate because that sweet potato and bread, those flavors are usually I identify as a more of a body to those flavors. So I kind of felt like the whole time when I got those flavors, it kind of upped the body for me. When I retrohale, I got more spice influence, got more of that red pepper spice coming through. I got some really nice bright cherries as well. The finish goes back to more the earth-driven components of the dirt soil, sweet potatoes, hint of red pepper on the mid rear palate. So kind of like when, as the cigar kind of progressed on, it kind of stayed within that core flavor spectrum. Like sometimes I'll get more like spice, but sometimes I get more like dirt, soil, kind of a combination. But overall, those are the overall flavor. Those are the flavors that I got out of it. In terms of burn and draw, they were perfect. There's really nothing to say about that. So.
All right, John, how about you? What was your smoking experience like?
Should have called this the Cinco Minutos instead of the Cinco Decadas. I got a similar profile to June. I think this was, and we'll talk about the comparison to the Diademus later, but this had a lot of earth to it. And, some people like that. I'm not a huge fan, especially when it kind of takes over the post draw. And there's a lot of leather that went along with that, which is not really an ideal combination, but can be present in a lot of Nicaraguan tobacco. So the first thing was kind of interesting for me. I mean, there was some chocolate, there was a lot of pepper on the post draw, pardon me, on the retrohale. But like June said, I mean, it was very earth driven. Middle third was more leather driven than earth driven, but it was still leather and earth really for the most of the middle third with some light plus baking spices, but that's not really what drove the profile. And then the last third, I would say the baking spices fought back a little bit. So, you got a little bit more of the baking spices, but again, post draw was all that, loamy earth and leather. I had massive problems with the construction and burn. I don't know what was going on. Maybe I just had a bad sample, but I literally had the cigar go out. I think I counted 4 times, and I had what, 4 relights and 1 or 2 touch-ups. So initially I was going to mark it as subpar, but then I remembered that I tend to, if it's a relight, that to me is a lot more serious than a touch-up. So I'm not sure what happened. Maybe again it was my sample. Maybe it's the winter. I don't know, but I didn't have this problem with the other Cinco Decadas that I smoked. Interestingly enough, the draw was pretty much perfect. It was kind of one notch in the resistance spectrum, so little resistant, but still very good. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, for me, the cigar started with wood, black pepper, and a light floral note to it. About half inch in, the black pepper increased in intensity, kind of took the lead in the profile. About an inch in, the wood came back to the front. Black pepper and floral notes kind of faint in the background. Retrohale had the wood up front, but the black pepper was right behind it. The slight mustiness in the background. And then a little bit of mustiness starts joining the profile a little bit after that. The black pepper and floral notes actually increase as well. As the first thirds wrapping up, wood still up front, mustiness floral note right behind it. Black pepper is really faint in the background, strength at medium. And then getting the second third, mustiness morphs into a kind of a light creaminess to go along with that wood and faint floral and black pepper notes. Further in, the wood becomes more defined as cedar. Cream reverts back to the mustiness. Still a little bit of black pepper in the background, but the floral note had left the profile. And then further in, cedar changes to oak, has a little bit of a char to it. Floral note kind of returns and the black pepper goes away. Retrohale's charred oak, mustiness, and floral note. And as the second third is coming to a close, that charred oak remains up front. Mustiness is right behind it. Still a little bit of a faint floral note in the background. Strength still at the medium mark. And then the final third, charred oak remains up front. Mustiness still behind it. Mustiness morphs back into the creaminess about a half inch in. Retrohale's got that charred oak and creaminess going on. And then about an inch in, some mintiness joins the profile. Cigar wraps up with that charred wood up front and the cream transitioning back to mustiness. And still a little bit of mintiness there. Strength is slightly above medium at that point. In regards to the burn, it was a bit of a challenge. Cigar went out multiple times, requiring relights. And I'm pretty sure that those relights took a toll on the flavor profile as the cigar went along. So in regards to draw, though, it was perfect. No issues with it whatsoever. So overall, Jiunn, what were your thoughts on this one?
You can't help but to make comparison with the Diademas that we all kind of unanimously liked last year. I think I was looking back at my notes on the Diademas that I wrote, and I was comparing to the notes of the El General. And I think one of the core things I was really missing from this one was I got such a balance of, although it was both were like pretty like earth driven kind of cigars, I felt like the Diademas, interestingly enough, was more balanced than this one. I got more sweetness out of the Diademas. The earth and spice didn't kick up so much. It worked. It blended well with that sweetness. Whereas this version was more like earth and spice centric. So, I felt like within the Diademas, I even wrote like, there's this umami character that I got out of it, in which, for me, umami is not something that's like a flavor. It's more of it's like a euphoric feeling, right? Like when you have something that was so good, you're like, man, this shit's legit, right? I didn't get that within this cigar at all. But it's still a good cigar. It's just not as good as a Diademas.
How about you, John? What were your overall thoughts?
I mean, I'm going to echo a lot of what Jiunn said. I think the natural comparison has to be the Diademas, and I think I also rated the cigar overall good, but there's two knocks against it. One is the price point, which if you're going to put out a cigar that's $18.99 with this flavor performance, I think you're going to really struggle, because to me, if that's a $19 cigar, then it's going to have to perform at the very good level in at least one of the thirds. And I think I'm definitely influenced having smoked the Diademas, because to me, the Diademas, it's a very, very different cigar. Like Jiunn said, I think to me, it's a balance issue, and it's a nuance issue. This cigar wasn't nuanced at all for me. It was, very in your face. It's very, I would call it a very sort of classic, typical Joya de Nicaragua cigar. That is, there's a lot of flavor going on, but there's no nuance. There's no softness to it. And I think that's why the Diademas was such a great cigar, because, I think of that as like a concert where it's got its highs, it's got its lows, and it's got its mediums. And I'm not a music guy, but to me, that's the analogy, where there's way more range and flavor profile than the El General. So again, it's a good cigar, but man, that flavor, if you'd smoked that as a representation of the Cinco Decadas, I could see why you'd say, well, this isn't going to make my list this year, because if I had smoked the El General, I'd say, well, boy, that was a huge miss for Joya. And of course, the burn performance really doesn't help matters. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this all about a comparison, but I mean, it's hard to do it since there's two Vitolas for the line, and we smoked them both, and that's what you do. But I thought this cigar was interesting. There was a lot of transitions for me in regards to like the mustiness moving to creaminess and back and forth throughout and things like that. So there was interesting things to it, but the flavor profile just wasn't the hit that the Diademas was. The Diademas provided a better smoking experience in regards to performance and a better flavor profile in my eyes. So, the burn performance on this just really doesn't help it at all, and it probably hurts the flavors. And that's the biggest thing in our kind of evaluation formula. So, it's still a good cigar. Like if you compare it to all the cigars that we review, and you took the score and you said, where does this rank on the list of all the cigars we smoked? It's still a good cigar. I mean, it's probably in the top 40%, I would say. But if you're gonna smoke a Cinco Decadas, and I have to choose between the two Vitolas, I'm going to the Diademas 10 times out of 10, based on this so far. I'd definitely like to smoke it again just to see if I can get one that has better burn performance. See if there's any difference, but that's kind of where we sit now. So getting into the scores, we'll start from the top. Jiunn, you gave it a 7.17. John, you were next at 6.52, and I gave it a 6.42. So 7.17, Jiunn.
I mean, even with these comparisons, and yeah, I agree, 10 out of 10, I'm going out to the Diademas over this one. But it's still a really good score, but it's almost like, yeah, it's a good score, but I'm going to pick up the Diademas. I don't want to smoke this Vitola.
Yeah, it's kind of like you have an older brother that like is you both play baseball, but he's like getting full ride scholarships, and you're still a pretty good player, but you just can't live up to that level. But you're still the best player in your age group in your neighborhood or whatever it is. It's a tough thing to do. All right, 6.52, John.
Man, it's good to see I'm starting out 2019 and being a little bit more aggressive on my scoring. Maybe I'm going to be the middle of the road for 2019, but like Jiunn nailed it. If I have a choice, and I do have a choice because I already bought a box of the Diademas, that's what I'm reaching for. And again, it is a good cigar. It performed really well, and I think the score reflects that. But for me, we talk about price and our value proposition, but there's no way that I'm spending $18.99 for a cigar that performed at that level with construction and flavor. If the construction was flawless, I don't know that I'd still spend $18.99, because I think when you get over that $14 hump, I think you're gonna have to up your game. The fact that I have a box of the Diademas showed that I don't care that it's $19. That cigar deserved a box.
Mm-hmm.
This one, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good cigar. Based on all my scores, this was probably top 30% for my score. So it's still a good cigar. Yeah. But price point included, it's not going to be what I'm shooting for. And if the box of cigars all had the same burn, I'd lose my mind after I get through 3, probably. So.
Well, I suspect you'd probably be returning it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, I mean, it sounds like we're bashing this cigar, but we're only bashing it because of the comparison with the other Vitola. That's the only reason.
I mean, you've got a Pro Bowl level cigar in the other thing, and this is like you said, this is little brother. It's like,
yep.
Sorry, man.
And it's also kind of neat because you're talking about the same line but different Vitolas, and seeing how much of a compare and contrast, more contrast than anything.
Yeah, and this isn't a Toro Churchill comparo. This is a very different kind of Vitola altogether. Yeah. So it's interesting just to see how the blend comes together. So, All right, any other final thoughts on this one?
No.
All right.
I look forward to none of the emails that we're going to get from Joya de Nicaragua.
Exactly. Well, they might come. They'll just come like 4 months from now. Yeah. If you're just catching this video on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us. Check out the full written review on the website, developmentpalates.com. Be sure to follow us on all the social media channels, and you can catch all of our review recaps on podcasts. So iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.